Figure today is Akuma, another Street Fighter character put out by Bandai. This character or this figure is unfortunately tragically bad. This is easily the worst of the Bandai figures, and when you look at it, it probably looks perfectly fine. And you might be thinking, what's wrong with it? I mean, it's got some cool features. The prayer beads are a separate piece. The sandals, see if I can show it. Well, no, I'm sorry. The sandals are not a separate piece. That I have another Akuma, not by Bandai, where they're separate pieces. The sculpt is pretty good. I know that there's complaints about the skin tone being inhuman and the figure a bit shiny, but I didn't have a problem with it because, as far as I'm concerned, Akuma is a bit inhuman. So I like the rope wraps on the hands. That's pretty cool. And this is a separate piece. This is a separate piece from the upper gi. So there's a lot to like about this figure. Now, he does have a little bit of a weird musculature. He somehow has a separate muscle between the bicep and the triceps. So that's actually something that I've seen on other figures. So I don't know. Whoever's doing this sculpting seems to think that there's a muscle that doesn't actually exist. But the musculature, by and large, the chest, the abs, everything's looking pretty good. So what's wrong with the figure? I'll get into that in just a moment, but this is another one where there's a lot of, the dust really likes to cling to these figures, the Bandai figures. So I don't have this one in a glass case, but maybe I need to think about it someday. No, the problem with the figure, we'll see if he'll demonstrate it. So there's the problem. The problem is in the arms, the forearms. I can't remember if the shoulder. Oh, yeah, there we go. And this apparently is not unique to my figure. Now I can understand one joint being bad. It happens, but this is 3 joints that are bad on one figure. And the problem is that in here where the joint meets, it doesn't snap in. It's held in by nothing more than friction. And that's unusual. That's not normal for Bandai to do. I don't know how they made this tragic mistake, but I remember several years back watching a video of somebody demonstrating this figure, and by the end of the video, they just stopped putting the arm back on because it just wouldn't stay on. I've never experienced this with any other figure. Somewhere in the design of this, somebody made a tragic mistake. I'm not even going to attempt to put these back, but basically what I do is I take them, I put them in a pose, and then I don't do anything with them. The legs are fantastic. Another a figure that's very balanced and can hold a pose well. And unlike the many of the other the Hot Toys figures, and to a degree, maybe even my Mezco figures, putting them into a specific pose isn't going to damage the figure at all over time. So that's kind of cool. But with Akuma, he'll hold a pose, and his arms will stay in as long as I'm not manipulating it. I have a couple of Godzilla figures where the joints will come out very easily, but to have 3 on one figure, and again, I can just look at this and see that it's not snapping in. It's just friction holding it in, and not very well. I'm going to assume that this version of Akuma is the Street Fighter 2 Akuma. So he's got the little hair thing going there, the prayer beads. If you look at Akuma from Street Fighter 5, he looks a lot different. And I don't believe he's in Alpha. I want to say he's not in Alpha. So Street Fighter 2. Okay, no, I guess he is in Alpha. All right, so he's in 2, Alpha, 3, 4, and 5. So he's in most of the games. Not in one, but very few are in one. So I assume that this is Street Fighter 2. If you go out there on Amazon, $99. That's definitely above. I think I paid more in the $40 range. But yeah, if you're out there buying third party figures and you're willing to pay, I would skip this one. It's just you might get lucky. I mean, look, it's got over 4.6 out of 5. So maybe a lot of people. It's not always an indication of whether it's good or not, because a lot of people just like, yeah, fantastic, regardless of how bad the figure is. But I've also seen enough people that say, yeah, the joints are no good, that I would just skip this figure. And he looks fine on a shelf as long as I'm not manipulating him. But he's no fun to play with, that's for sure.